cool. Thank you. All right. So we were actually thinking about changing the title of this, or at least I was last night when the board agenda came out, to from part-time at large to full-time tenure track, because one of our other co-presenters when we did this last semester is now full-time tenure track, and he was part-time at large. So the sort of theme of today is that is kind of myth busting the idea that being active in the union, being active here on campus, being visible, and not necessarily always in this glowing sort of sycophantic way, right, doesn't actually hurt your ability to get full-time. It actually helps. Okay. So I'm Keith Ford.
I'm Bernadette Moordigian.
And this is the plight of the part-time, hiding to fighting, but you could also just change it to from part-time at large to full-time tenure track. So some of this is going to be familiar to a few of you. We're going to try to manage the chat fairly progressively, but we do have time for Q&A at the end. So if you have a question in the chat and you feel like it's not getting answered, we will get to it. All righty. So this is us. The presentation will be available. Susie makes these available after the fact, so the links are actually relevant. You'll have the ability to click on them. Maybe we should do QR codes. But so I'm the president of State Center Federation of Teachers, which represents part-time and full-time faculty here at FCC, also Clovis, Madera, and Reedley colleges.
What do you teach?
What do I teach? Yes, I teach English and humanities. Thank you.
How long have you been here?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been here for 10 years. I found that out yesterday as I was getting things together. Woo! I teach psychology here. I am an adjunct. I've been involved with our union for the past 7 years, and currently I'm the vice president of adjunct affairs for the whole entire district. So you've probably got some emails from me. How many of you are members of our union?
All right.
Awesome. Okay. So that's great.
Okay. So just a quick loose agenda. We'll do a little bit of an opening chat, contract overview and grievance process. That's what we actually build this as. If we said fighting, we'd never get the flex day thing approved. So then we're going to break some stigmas and talk about utilizing resources. We'll organize transformation, talk about organizing transformation, and then we'll have the Q&A and wrap up. All righty.
Okay, so who has been here for more than 3 years?
Right. Yep. Bill. Yeah. Almost everybody. Yeah.
How about more than 5?
Oh, okay.
More than 10?
Yeah.
Congratulations. All right. What are some of us have to have other side jobs in order to supplement our income, especially for adjuncts. I know that. What are some other side gigs that maybe you've done in order to make ends meet?
Go to businesses and teach them how to use Excel.
Okay. So Excel training. Yeah.
That's important.
Others.
Teach at high school.
Teach at a high school. Okay.
Just retired from Madera County Public Health.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. You have one over here? Okay, we'll say that.
Clovis adult.
Clovis
Okay.
adult?
Yeah. We're looking for weird gig things too, right? Not just teaching. So I was a lumberjack for a while.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah. Did I ever tell you that?
No, you didn't.
I teach music lessons.
Okay,
Music,
cool.
music lessons. Okay. Yep. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah. Helping to translate a young adult
So
novel.
good.
Yeah.
For about 5 or 6 years, I was shooting back in videos.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. A friend of mine opened up a deli, and I was making trays of baklava in the summer, which I don't know if you know, that's extensive hard work and it's
Yeah.
hot. So I was selling my baklava to make a little bit of extra side money.
Yeah. Look at the chat. So we got
Oh,
folk singer. The chat's only visible, I think, over on this side.
okay, baking.
Yeah. Folk singer, wedding photo booth business. Yeah. Full-time art teacher, pitching coach, baking. Yeah. Wow.
Part-time 22 years.
Mm-hmm. So what are some what are some positive experiences in your department? And then also, what are some negative experiences? Maybe we'll start with positive. This is Friday, Friday morning.
Last time I thought I was on the priority assignment list.
Okay. Yeah. Finding out you're on priority assignment is good. Yeah. That means you get classes before the people who are less senior. That's nice. Yeah.
They told me, it's like, I didn't even know. I don't know where you find out.
What else? Positive experiences. We could jump to negative, but hopefully that's not the only ones. Yeah.
I'm the only one in the whole district, so.
You teach German, right?
I like that. I mean, it's kind of weird, but.
It's good job security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bill. Did you? I thought you raised your hand. No?
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Positive, so this is Sergeant, relatively new dean. Great people to work with, supportive environment, love the students. Yeah, I think we're all here, and
Students are great.
yeah, students are great. Students are great. I mean, so I taught as an adjunct here, taught as an adjunct lecturer at the CSU and at the UC. We have the best students. We really do. They come here because they actually want to make themselves better. Not because they're just checking a box and then going to go off and do something else, right? They want to better their lives and better their families' lives. Negative experiences, 13 keys. Yeah, that's definitely a negative. What else?
Not feeling like you're informed, like I got the thing about the convocation for Fresno City, and I thought I better find out what's going on in Clovis, and they were like, well, you're not required to come, and I'm like, usually I still be a thing.
Yeah.
So I just felt,
Yeah, not being informed is a big deal, right? And you feel like I've felt very lonely. Yeah, and teaching at multiple institutions. Mhm. Yeah. Last pick of classes.
Feeling expected to be at everything and be having commitments, regardless if we're working several other jobs.
Yeah, and paid for none of that.
And
Yeah,
I feel like that's changed a little bit since COVID, because I think we're expected to be at meetings, especially who's an adjunct in here? Who's part-time? Okay, so I don't know about you, but I feel like we have a little bit of pressure of like, hey, we're expected to come to these meetings, and some of us might have a full-time job someplace else.
yeah.
And you very rarely know.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
you can't really contribute, because I'm like, I don't know what that report is that you have to do. I'll sit here and listen, but wow.
Not getting paid for officers,
Yes.
yes.
Facility for all.
Or not.
Yes. We're
Yeah.
building buildings all over the Central Valley, but we don't have space. We're not getting paid for office hours again this semester. That drives me insane. So thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that up. It's a good way to start the
Yeah.
semester.
I just left the presentation on, early intervention for mental health issues. And the only thing I can think of is I'd be out on the sidewalk talking to my student because I have to exit the classroom because the next teacher is coming in. There's
Right,
no consideration for that.
Right.
You are so right. And it's so painful, right? Because so we're all here for the students. We all love these students, think they're very special, but how in the hell are you going to help them, right? Work through a personal crisis when you don't have a private space to do that.
Right.
It's not fair to them and it's not fair to you.
And especially if they are in crises, that's the last thing you want to say is like, I gotta commute, I gotta go, or we don't really have a place to meet.
I got to teach down in Visalia.
When I did have office hours, I had students share with me some very personal details of their HIV status, their domestic violence. And this is just not something that you gradually kind of say right after the class.
Yeah.
We need a time and space for people to open up about that. So we're still fighting for those things, believe me.
That kind of brings up points, whatever happened to the contract negotiations that.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
We're going to, and there is some good news. And we'll also talk about the office hours. I know that a lot of people are commenting on that in the chat. Yes, Lisa.
Yeah, I was gonna put one last note in there. Having to sift through your syllabus to find every single mention of. A sentence the other day, I'm like, you said I'm from the office hours.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it was so I mean, I'll just say this now in the interest of time. It was a total power play on behalf of the district. Just to say, because they wanted us to settle the contract quickly so that we would avoid getting good salary increments, fighting for healthcare. They were just giving us well, office hours are guaranteed in the new contract, but you have to settle the contract. And we're not going to extend the old contract and the old office hours. So this is one of the reasons that makes us so angry, not just because you can't help your students, but because they're using our love for our students and our need to help our students, our very strong desire to help our students against us and trying to use that.
Or because you love your students, you go ahead and do the office hours anyway.
Yeah, you do them for free. Yeah. A lot of us do that. I mean, how many of you?
That's what I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. How many of us did free work last semester?
Or cited for the, finish strong. That was one time my students finally got to meet with me is during that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have more time for Q&A at the end, but let's go ahead and dive into the contract overview and the grievance process. And I'm actually gonna try erase marker. Haven't restocked myself. Okay. So what SCFT does for you. So we support best practices that enhance student education and success when the district doesn't actively work against us. We support faculty interests in the pursuit of student success and a collegiate atmosphere on our campuses. We negotiate contracts with the district to provide transparency and benefits for all of our faculty professionals. And we represent and advocate for faculty rights, conducive work environments, and opportunities for advancement. And I'll just pause on the opportunities for advancement. So I said at the very beginning of this talk that I was thinking about changing the title from hiding to fighting to part-time at large to full-time tenure track. Last semester, so we do a new employee orientation for the full-time tenured folks every late August. And so we did one this last August, and there were about, I think there were like 54 new full-time faculty. And we said, how many of you were our part-timers? How many of you adjuncted within this district? 2/3 of them raised their hands. 2/3 of them. So, and over the life of the last contract, 50% or higher, 50% of the new full-time folks are our own folks that come from our own ranks. So that's a big priority for us, is to grow our own talent and to support our own part-timers into full-time work. And it is happening. Sometimes it's hard to see it, but it is happening. So
can you just shed some light? Because I feel like a lot of people feel down about themselves if they have applied. They feel like, am I not smart enough? Am I not good enough? Can you just tell them briefly about how many openings that they should be having, should have?
Yeah. So it is competitive. And just so you know, I know a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you have no idea what it is like to be rejected. I applied 25 times. 25 times within this specific district and got rejected 24 of those 25. So I definitely know what it feels like. One of the things that we know, so yes, 50% of our people are getting full-time tenure track jobs, but there's so few of them that it's actually only 3% of our folks who actually get the job. So that's, yes, it's 50%. It looks great for the district and they trot it out and they're all happy, right? But it's 3% of our folks. And you know how long on average you have to adjunct before you get there? 6.5 years. 6.5 years. So we're really working. Yeah, it's sad, right? So we're really working to expand those margins in this next contract and to continue to work with everybody on the part-time side to better equip you to prepare for the full-time application process. We actually do a workshop in the spring on surviving the full-time application process. Yes,
I have a question. If you get hired as a full-time when you've been a part-time, what salary do they start you at? Because a lot of us have a lot of experience.
So if all of your experience is part-time, the highest placement that you can get is in the sixth cell, the sixth step.
What is that in terms of money?
Well, it depends on where your educational experience is, but the highest would be
We just-
94,000.
Yeah, we just looked at that highest step of full timers is 30.
Yeah, highest step for full-time is 30, and that's
And
125,000.
we started 6 and we get,
Yeah, 94, I think, 95.
okay, that's
So-
not good money, but still.
Mhm. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
If you want to know more about that, that's Administrative Regulation 7130. Okay, and then the last thing we do is we work with the campuses and the community to enhance public education in support of our students and faculty. Actually, one thing that I wanted to draw your attention to, if you're here physically, we have a flyer there. We have a statewide economic summit coming not this weekend, but next weekend here to FCC. To specifically talk about, if you want to pass it around, maybe people can scan the QR code. We'll put the link in the chat later on. But it's specifically to talk about the state of the economy in California and how do we work together to rehab that to make it better for working families, i.e. our students and us.
And just to tack on that, another way that we work within our community to educate them is we attend Board of Trustee meetings. We bring up issues that are happening so that we're educating not only our board, but also these things are recorded, they're on YouTube. So our constituents can also see what is happening here within our district.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so just really quickly, the part-time contract, which is available on our website, which is at the end of this presentation, it covers a lot of stuff, but among them, covers the rights to public information and employee information so that we can support you. The rights and roles of district management. We're going to get into these a little bit deeper. Your rights to non-discriminatory and safe work environments, the hours, workload, and class sizes negotiated by the union. And it also includes information on office hours, which we don't have right now, but we will in the next contract. The academic calendar and employee assignment, process and calendar for part-time faculty evaluations, your rights to transparency in regards to those evaluations and personnel records, conditions for your time off for leave, the procedures for grievance, which we're going to spend quite a bit of time on here, and then compensation as well. Okay, I'm going to minimize the chat so that we all can see this. So there's a couple of notable points and some misconceptions. Your job offer, the thing that you sign each semester, is not your contract. Okay, your contract is negotiated by SCFT, and we're actually doing that now.
And it's negotiated once every about 3 years. So if you've received emails from us asking to attend a general membership meeting or what have you, and we're talking about the contract, it's a big deal because once that gets ratified, that's our conditions for the next 3 years. But I do think, Keith, as Keith was saying, a lot of people get confused. We get a thing that we sign from our division office saying these are the classes. That's not a contract. They can take away those classes, as we found out in the pandemic, where even though we signed it, we lost classes even after the start of the semester.
Yeah. Next thing is seniority is not a thing. There is a negotiated process, as Lisa was kind of intimating. There's a negotiated process for class assignments between full and part-time faculty. What you do get is comparable load once you get into that seniority status. Once you've worked 6 semesters, or if you're on the counseling side of the house, 864 hours. Which actually stacks up quite a bit because they can work 22 hours a week.
Can you explain what that means? Comparable load?
So yeah, good question. So comparable load means, so how many classes did you teach last fall?
2.
2. Okay. And fall before that?
1.
Okay. So they're going to take, once you get to your 6 semesters, they're going to look at fall to fall and spring to spring. And if you have an average of 2 classes in the fall, that's your comparable load for fall. If you have an average of 3 classes in spring, then you're going to have a comparable load guarantee of 3 classes. Does that make sense?
And when does that change? You know, like as we're coming out of the pandemic and we have more classes, thank goodness, right? Would that change?
Yeah, it's gonna balance it up. Yeah.
Keith, I have a question. This is a need. I don't know if there's a way to raise our hand.
No, just interrupt us. It's fine.
Okay, if there's no seniority, can the dean just give classes to somebody they like if they don't like you?
So the short answer is yes, but the longer answer is they can only do that as long as you've gotten your comparable load first. So let's say that the dean hires their brother-in-law, right? But they're brand new. Well, they're going to get, maybe they get a good class or two, but it only comes after you and need a more senior adjunct, right? Has gotten your three classes of comparable load. And if that doesn't happen, reach out to us because that's a grievance.
And I will say sometimes I've interacted with people who they change their schedule and they would only say like, I can only teach from Thursday from 5 to 7. And then Dean's like, we don't have that time open.
Mhm.
So if this is your only availability, we don't have a class for you. So
Yeah.
I know sometimes we can think like this person's out to get me, but sometimes there's other issues at hand.
How would you check, how do you check if you're getting your comparable load, like they're saying
Mhm.
after that, being favorable, how would you know if you even did get it?
Right. So that thing that you sign at the beginning of every semester, your load sheet, it's not a contract, it's just a load sheet, right? Save that. Or you can just go back into self-service and check there. So
Some,
But what would I be looking for, I guess, is what I'm saying, like, just, am I
Units.
doing the same amount of classes?
no, units is what you're looking for.
Units.
Yeah, unit load. So if you have an average of 9 units per semester, or in some of the disciplines with like co-requisite classes or lab classes, you can get up to the 10 unit limit. If you have a 10 unit comparable load, yeah, max is like 10.07 or something
Because I
like
also
that.
teach lessons,
Mhm.
so it adds into.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, so you can also talk to your office staff and just ask them for your load sheet. They have that record.
we have a couple of people asking about summer load.
Yeah, so summer load is thankfully wild, wild west. So there are no load caps on part-timers. So
There are.
nope, no load caps at all. You can teach as much as you possibly can.
A lot of
in the summer.
talking.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
fast turnaround.
It's a lot of grading, a lot of hard work, but. Mhm.
But there have been people who've done 5.
Yeah, or
And I-
yeah, one of our colleagues in the English department does 8 classes every summer.
Woo.
But I mean,
Money.
brace yourself. She makes like $26,000 in the summer, and then she uses that to hold herself over. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
So you were talking about comparable load from semester to semester.
yes,
So. Once again, hypothetical or scenario, it almost happened. What if you've been doing this for 5 to 10 years, and all of a sudden, one semester you come up and now you're short?
Mhm.
Is there a grievance process?
Yes.
Or is there anything?
You would reach out to us. Yeah, definitely. Now it depends on.
Yeah, like I said, it almost happened to me this semester.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
They fixed it right before the semester.
It does happen, and then we get involved, and oftentimes we can straighten them out.
And how about in the summer? Can you do the same thing in the summer?
No,
Or is it-
summer
like you
there.
said, it's wild.
Summer is Wild West, which works in our favor to a degree,
Yeah.
but there's no priority of assignment. There's no comparable load guarantee. It's whoever gets it, gets it.
Gotta really suck up to your junior or whatever.
Yeah.
So my other question, so I recently filled out the class availability thing for Fresno City. So does that mean that if I got class here and offer to Clovis, I could take?
So it's a good question. So the question was, just in case you didn't hear on Zoom. Oh, summer. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Summer's whatever. Now, the load cap is district wide. So if you have classes in Clovis and classes here, you can still only teach 10 classes or 10 units.
Like you said, summer's like,
Yeah.
I worked it, it's hard, but it's made the money.
Right. Yeah. No, that's where a lot of us make enough money to actually begin to
Yeah.
survive. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I have a question about, you were talking about the load. So spring, because of COVID, because of low enrollment, that's usually when I don't really get that much.
Mhm.
I think I've had up to 8,
Mhm.
but I was actually given, so I've got full load for this spring, but so what happens if they don't hold? Because one's got really low enrollment. So does that mean that
Yeah. It's not what you're offered. It's what you end up teaching.
it would do?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not what you're offered. It's what you end up teaching.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move it along because I want to be conscious of time. The last key point is full-time faculty are not your bosses, regardless of what they may claim. Okay, if you have a problem, this usually happens with like a department chair. Okay, usually that's because of some kind of power imbalance between the department chair and the dean, who actually is your boss. Reach out to us, we can help you. We do not tend to talk to, we're not going to go to a full-time faculty member and say, hey, you need to be nicer to Lisa. What we're going to do is go to the dean and say, you need to do your damn job. You need to do your damn job and stop making the department chairs do it. Because oftentimes the department chairs are responding to pressure that they're getting from a lazy dean. Why is this not advancing? There we go. Okay. This is a lot of information. Maybe can we take the chat?
Sure.
Johnson?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Didn't realize it was coming up there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so evaluations. These are meant, maybe that part should be in quotations, to improve the quality of instruction and are not meant to be personally punitive. You are going to be evaluated on the position that you hold, counselor, instructor, coach, etc., and the duties that are outlined. The duties outlined for these positions are in the contract. So if you want to know like what your actual duties are as an instructor, it's in the contract. Okay. College administration is responsible for this evaluation process, which for your part-time faculty occurs between week 6 and week 13 of a given semester. If they try to evaluate you outside of that, give us a call. In-class visits are made as a part of the evaluation. Student evaluations are standardized. Now they're all digital. They're not even handed out anymore, which you get like 2% participation now. And then your evaluator should, this is a big one, your evaluator should discuss the evaluation with you. If you have not been made aware of that protocol, you can request a discussion. Guys, this is how you get letters of recommendation. Okay. I know they're not mandating letters of recommendation in the application process anymore, but guess what? Now that they're not mandatory, you stand out even more if you've got a letter of recommendation. So anytime you get evaluated, if it's a positive evaluation, email that faculty member, email that dean afterwards, say, hey, can I get a letter of recommendation from you? And then all evaluations are authorized and or reviewed and authorized by that supervisor, by the dean. So everything goes through your dean, which is another reason why sometimes they're a little stressed, because if you're in a large division with 86 of my department, I work in the English department, my department alone has 86 part-timers. And they all have to be evaluated, not every semester, but they all have to be evaluated in cycle. That's a lot of evaluations.
How often is that? How often are you getting like it's like all of a sudden going, and it's taking on the every semester?
Here we
No,
go.
no, I mean, this is a perfect segue. I'll give you your $5 afterwards. Yeah, so go ahead.
The very first semester,
Mhm.
you're evaluated.
First semester, you get evaluated, and the team is going to be mostly just your immediate supervisor or a designee and a peer reviewer. So you get probably 2 evaluations. Then you're going to get evaluated again, either in your second or third, and it could be an and/or, okay, by that same immediate supervisor or designee and another person, another peer reviewer. These are always full-time tenured folks. Your performance after that is once every 6 semesters, so once every 3 years, at least. So if there is like, if there's a student complaint or something like that, or as we saw this happen a couple of years ago when a new dean came in and said, I just want to evaluate everybody because I want to get to know everybody. They can do that. They can do that. Now, again, in a very large division, that's problematic on their side. And our response is like, well, look, if you want to burn yourself out, be my guest, because that's what's going to happen.
But do, like he said, make sure that they are in those parameters of those weeks, because that would be a grievable. That's a grievance
Yes.
against the contract. So if they say, I'd like to evaluate you on your second week, and you're like, what if we're in the second week, or what I'm not going to agree to this.
Yeah, and you don't have to. Because I mean, geez, at the second week, you've got no dynamic with your students yet, right? It takes time.
Isn't there something in the criteria about when the evaluations have to start?
Yeah, week
Yes.
6 is when they start, and they have to be wrapped up by week 13.
So if they
So-
want to come in during finals, or
They wanna go.
those are the
Yeah.
parameters.
And the idea is you have time to build foundation with your students, and then you have time at the end to prepare for finals. and to do final projects. Because like, I mean, let's say if you had presentations for the last 2 or 3 weeks of your class, well, how are you going to get evaluated when students are the ones up there talking? That doesn't work. Yes.
About evaluations. They come in anonymously from the students.
Oh, yes.
And how do you defend yourself against some student that's pissed off at you because you didn't pass them and they felt like they should be passed?
Well,
So it's worth pointing out that student evaluations don't factor in much.
Okay,
there's
They
not
really
a
don't.
lot of weight. I mean, and this is also,
well, just because I got talked to about, some student wrote, I was the meanest teacher ever, she'd never ever want to, inflict me on anybody else because I made her do what she had to do.
Mm,
And I think, because I don't know who it was that said it.
right.
So,
Yeah, no, and they will probably always remain anonymous. But
I kind of believe in facing your accuser.
I mean, so if it were some kind of breach of ethics, then you do have that right. Like if they were actually accusing you of something that for which you could be disciplined or fired or sent to jail, then yeah, you do have that. But it's not in the case of a normal evaluation, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
However, if you get a negative evaluation and you get called in by your dean, that is a potentially disciplinary scenario, and you should reach out to us. Any meeting, and this is
yeah.
worth underscoring multiple times, any meeting that you think could turn disciplinary, you have the right to stop the meeting and say, I want my union rep.
even let's say I'm the dean and I say, I'm going to invite you in for tea. I'd just like to get to know you. And you're like, oh, she's going to have me in for tea.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it gets very weird. And you feel like this might be a reprimand. You can say, you know what, I'm going to stop this meeting.
Yeah.
I'm going to call my union rep. And that's perfectly okay.
Mhm.
And say, I'd like to reschedule this because I'm not sure what's happening right now.
Mhm. And
So-
by law, they are mandated to stop.
Okay.
And then if they don't, then that's retaliation and we can sue.
Okay.
So that's how deans get fired.
That's one of your primary rights and everybody should know that you have the right to say that.
Do you have a phone number handy to call?
We'll
At
give
the
you
end of the,
information.
yeah, at the end of the presentation, there's a bunch of numbers. Let me check the chat real quick. No, so Catherine, in answer to the question, the evaluations are on the same schedule for the entire district at weeks 6 through 13.
You've got the contract is listed on the HR website and also on our SCFT website,
Mhm.
both the full-time and the part-time contracts, very different language. So please go back and get familiar with that.
Yeah, and there was a question from Zoom, I think. Somebody spoke up.
Well, hi, this is Catherine. My question was more about if I've been working with Fresno City for 6+ years and then I suddenly take a class at Reedley, am I treated like I'm brand new at Reedley and automatically have to do a new evaluation?
Good question. So you probably would, yes.
Okay.
Different department, different division, and they're just going to want to get familiar with you. That doesn't affect your comparable load, though. Comparable load is determined district-wide.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing on the grievance process and procedures, on the evaluations rather, any violation of the evaluation process is grievable. The substance of that evaluation is not. Okay, so if you get an evaluation that says, you're a terrible teacher, yada, 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 from the dean, and they have addressed everything else in the contract process-wise, they have a right to say that. They have a right to say that, and it's not grievable. Now, if there are disciplinary processes that get initiated because of a negative evaluation, call us, because you have a right to have us there. And this is what you should know about the grievance process. This is courtesy of your member rights VP, Rhea Williams. Okay, so just really quickly, a formal grievance. I can't read it because of the caption thing. Can anybody else?
A formal written,
no.
okay, we're going
No,
fast.
okay. I can read it over there.
Okay.
So a formal written allegation by a grievance that there has been an alleged violation, misapplication, or misrepresentation of any provision of the contract that adversely affects the employment status of the agreement. This threatens your job, right? You have the right, and we were talking about this a little earlier, you have the right to be represented by the Federation in any and all steps of this process, either by the VP of Member Rights, that's Rhea Williams, or by the President, me. Members of the union are also entitled to meet free of charge with our attorney. So we have an attorney on retainer, and if we need that, you get a free meeting with them. Yes.
That sentence is pretty important because it says members of the union.
Yes, you need to be a member. So we have a contractual obligation. We have a legal obligation to defend anybody under the contract, but the consultation with a lawyer is a paid for benefit by us. We maintain that benefit. And so that is not a contractual right. That is a benefit that we provide to members specifically. Yes. Lisa, you look like you have a question.
Yeah, what if you kind of didn't get the shining, review, and you got to sign the same person a second time?
They can do that.
Oh,
Yeah, they can do that. Now, I mean, it's still worth following up and having a chat with the dean. So we can talk about that. And if like, this doesn't happen very often, but if you have a colleague or a supervisor who you feel like is out to get you, there is an HR complaint process that we can help you with. It's not in the contract, but that is also a member benefit that we provide. We will help you walk through that. And then actions to challenge or change district policies, rules, regulations, administrative regulations, and procedures not included in the contract. They have to be undertaken through district procedures rather than grievance procedures. So the contract is a very narrow band of authority. We have influence in other places and we will help you, right? But those things are not grievable. So one of the big complaints that we get oftentimes is the hiring process. Any and all of us who have applied through the district know that the hiring process is a nightmare, right? It's a nightmare, but guess what? It's not in the contract. It's in an administrative regulation. So there are processes to go through and challenge those and change them. And we can help with that. And we've actually done that in the past, but it's not a grievance. Okay, that's me. I'm going to step aside.
Okay, so why don't people join our union, or why are they not involved? I think my communication with many people within this district is they're not even aware that what the union is. So when I call or email them and I say I'm from SCFT, even if I say State Center Federation of Teachers, they say like, what is that? And I'm like, this is your union. If you work in this district, this is your particular union. So I think that's one reason why people don't get involved, is because they simply are not aware that we exist. We are working very hard to make sure that you're aware that we exist, whether it's phone calls or emails, or I'll be showing up to people's classrooms this coming semester, especially for our non-members. So that's one of the reasons. Some people don't want to seek help because they're afraid of retaliation. They're afraid of speaking up if they have a particular issue. And I always want to go back and let people know that you do have strength in numbers. You have strength within this union for us to help represent you. Many times when things have happened, we step in and whatever they're experiencing suddenly just stops, which is nice. So yeah, there's a lot of fear of speaking out against any sort of poor treatment. Sure.
Pause on that really quickly. So again, to draw attention to the part-time at large to full-time tenure track option. So the person that I'm talking about was very outspoken, went to the district, said, hey, you're treating us badly. You need to pay us better. I don't think you're either aware of the cruelty or you're being willfully cruel. Right? Very, very stern remarks as a member of the union. And he was not only protected by the union, right? Now he has a full-time job. This happens, right? You have the right to speak out publicly against the injustices that you feel are happening to your in your place of employment. Okay, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
That's fine, right?
If we think something's unfair, would we come to you first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always a safe bet.
So some people also don't join our union because they're already members of another union. I find this a lot with instructors who, let's say, for example, maybe teach at Fresno State or any other district, and they say, well, I'm already in a union. Why would I have to join one here? We've been talking about the contract a lot in this meeting. This is one of the paramount issues of why you want to join that union, is because right now we're getting our ballots back for our election. And then we'll eventually start ratifying on said contract, because as you know, I said it gets ratified or negotiated once every 3 years. So that is a huge reason, just one of many reasons to join our union, because if you work here, then you want to make sure that you can vote on whatever changes are going to affect your working conditions for the next 3 years. We have a whole host of other things that this particular union does, but in the immediacy of talking about the contract, especially for our part-timers who, how many of you here are part-time again? The idea of us going from 67th out of 72 and working our way up to having more equity. We have been fighting for that. So what's the increase?
Oh, yeah, so maybe now's a good time to break
This is
break this down.
in the last like 10 months of our negotiations and what we're working on. And this is just strictly for adjuncts or part-timers here. This is why it's so important to support your union, just because in this particular contract, many of us are going to start to make actually a livable wage. We won't have to be making baklava and showing how to doing Excel spreadsheets and working 12 summer sessions, breaking our voice box just to survive, because we're going to actually start having more of a livable wage. So obviously we're still negotiating on said things, but this is already set in stone.
It's been offered by the district.
It's been offered by the district. So that's a huge point as far as why you'd want to join here as well.
Let me, can I
Sure,
just
go for
draw
it.
attention to it really quickly? So what the district has offered, and this is, make no mistake, guys, this is a direct result of all of the advocacy that people like Bernadette have been doing, that Rigo has been doing, that I've been doing, all the other members of the executive council, you all showing up to board of trustee events. They just can't ignore that they're treating us badly anymore. So this is what they offered. COLA for the first year.
Which is cost of living.
Cost of living adjustment, yeah, which is, we know for a fact that's 6.56% plus an additional 7%. So 13.5% for this first year. And then it's going to be COLA plus 5% and COLA plus another 5% for the other 2 years. Now, we reverse engineered what the district is expecting that COLA to be, and the total cumulative over the 3 years of the contract looks like it's going to be a 41.67% increase. Yes.
22, 23, does that mean it's retro back to?
Yes.
Yes,
So
good
it is,
question.
it is retroactive. So let's say we finally ratify our contract, let's say in March.
Yeah.
It's going to retroactive pay back from August of last year.
Like 7, 8 months.
It's
Yeah.
going to be raining money for you.
Yeah.
So this, just showing up to board meetings, we've spoke out to the media. We have shamed the district for us
Yeah.
having to really struggle.
For years, and it's paying off.
So
That's only for full time, right?
No, this is part-time.
This is for
This is
part-timers.
part-time. So,
Get retroactive too?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't this be like a sprinkle, right?
No.
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 You're,
Yeah.
Multiply what you made
So
over the
look-
last 7, 8 months by 13%.
So let's say that you got, let's just do the math.
This is huge here.
The maximum
people.
that you make as an instructor is probably like $1,800 a month. So even a 10% increase, that's $180 additional times 7 or 8 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually 13.5%.
Okay, the other night I thought you were talking about full time.
No.
Oh, this is part-time.
No.
This is part-time.
I'm speaking to our part-timers right now.
This is probably your question, but I'm not sure whether you know how much I get paid. I'm not sure how much I'm making, because when I signed this for the contract, range.
Right.
Hourly rate. How do I figure out how much?
So that's also
Can you repeat the
contract?
question? We can't hear
Oh,
online.
yeah, sorry. The question was, how do you find out how much you're making?
the hourly.
with what your hourly rate is.
So it's pretty simple. If you go to your contracts, you go to your part-time contract, whether that's on SCFT's website or the HR's website,
Mhm.
you will scroll all the way down and there is a nice little grid. And it gives your educational background, how many years you've been here. Those of us who have been here for 10 years, we've gone as far as we can go because there's only so many steps. So
Shouldn't there be something specific to me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's in self-service.
That's in some-
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to your self-service portal, which is where we all had a disaster trying to enter our grades this past semester, right? There is also an employee bar. And so if you click on that, it'll give you your paycheck information, but it also gives you your step and placement, which is what Bernadette is talking about.
mhm.
And then that step and column, I think it tells you the hourly rate there, but
It
if
will.
it doesn't, the step and column is on that salary sheet. So if you just Google SCCD part-time salary, you'll get the sheet.
That's what I couldn't find, but I found that.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like a chart thing. It has your lab hours and your.
right.
all
So
that.
you can see those differences there.
Okay,
Sure.
each year I asked whether I increased my level of education. And since I started working here, I earned that pay, but it's not in German. It's in creative writing.
Okay.
So is that, is that relevant or not?
It should,
So the question was, the question was that Beth has gotten more education since she started working here, but it's not directly relevant to the classes that she teaches. And should that then correlate to additional pay? Yes, there is a salary advancement.
workshop.
It's called a class advancement workshop that we do in the spring. That we would encourage you to show up for. That is, I think last year.
Last session.
Yeah.
Well, that's somebody
That's
else
them.
that we're doing
Yeah.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a salary advancement committee here on campus. There's one on every campus, but we do a workshop for the entire district on how to get through that process.
You had to request permission to take the, I don't understand that either. There's been some classes when I was at Fresno State doing my graduate work, I always wanted to take the linguistics one and there was a few others that I just never got to take. So do I have to put in the?
No, just take the
no,
classes.
just take it and.
Yeah, take the class. So I would encourage you to take the workshop in March.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't have a date yet, but it'll be in March.
We'll
It's a
email.
competition just about every class. I mean, there are classes that would be more acceptable than others, but to be safe,
Yeah,
the
there was.
petition to make sure that it gets covered.
It's a lengthy process and it is
Yeah.
unfortunately a sort of Byzantine process, which is why so last year we started to do the workshop. Just a quick aside on this. Last year was the first time we offered that workshop. We got a flood of people saying, please help me through this process. And we got a bunch of people, one full-timer, we got her an additional $20,000 a year because she had been improperly placed. And then we got other people, once they made their way through the advancement process and they got a huge raise coming in the fall. So we've got a good track record of success on coming out of that.
And we'll talk about other workshops. But I also in the chat, I saw something about healthcare for part-timers. And we will get to that. And I just want to make sure that if you could just hold your class questions and we'll do a quick.
I just have one question about what she said. I looked at my pay amount on my
Mhm.
thing when we pay every month. And sometimes it's not there. And then there's no amount there. And then I called the HR and they said that it's because I get paid different amounts for different things.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like lab hours.
Yeah. So you teach in nursing, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. So there are lecture rates and lab rates.
well, not that. It's like if I come here, I get paid differently.
Right.
Right.
Wait, versus,
Never been at a job that paid me differently when I attended an education or anything.
It's in our,
oh, yeah.
yeah. So
So like
there's,
a flex day, flex day gets paid different.
It's like half what I made.
right,
Office hours are paid different.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It's like hardly.
I never knew I had lab hours till last.
Yeah, lab hours are paid differently than lecture. We're actually trying to get that homogenized. We're trying to get the lab rate to be just 1-to-1 with the
That's
lecture.
another thing that we're doing in our negotiations for you. Okay.
Yeah, so that it would be equal pay.
Yeah, because I get paid like $13 an hour less for lab than I do.
Mhm.
Right, about that, about that.
Yeah.
So I just want to get back into so why you should join. It looks like most of us are, at least in this room, are members. If you are not a member, I highly recommend becoming one. And I'll just say this, if you're full-time, it's based on a sliding scale. If you are a part-timer, it is $16.57 each month to become a member. You only pay the months that you get a paycheck. So if you take, let's say, summer off and you're not working here, you're not paying dues. But you are getting the benefits. Let's say
You don't lose your membership. though.
you do get your ballot in the election or to vote and so forth. So that's huge. Another reason why it's so important to join, not just for yourself and all the benefits that you get. Let's say we got more people to join here at Fresno City College. That means that we actually have more seats on our executive council to represent you. If you look at our exec council, there's a lot of people from Fresno City College compared to, let's say, Reedley. So I'm actively trying to recruit people to become members. So our executive council becomes more of a representation for each district. Now, if we go away from the local and step aside, when we go to our statewide conventions, our statewide union is CFT. When we go to CFT, our union has voting power there as well, which I never realized what the union was like until I went to a convention. And I realized that we vote on things that happen all over California, K through higher ed.
Yeah, K through the UC.
And so it is really neat to be able to have that voting as well. So it's not just happening locally, but it's also happening statewide.
For part-timers, even if we're not part of the union, this goes to the district or somebody $10 a month. For an agency fee or something like that?
No, not anymore. Agency fee went away.
Oh, it did go away?
Yeah, it went away in 2018.
We also, the state also has a part-time convention, which we went to last year, which was really neat because that was just for part-timers, which I felt really empowered going there. And this brings me to inclusion and belonging. I think as part-timers, most of us are fleeing to the next job site. We are busy. We feel overlooked. We feel like we're not included. We haven't been included, especially pre-pandemic. It was like, these meetings are not for you. If you want to show up, you're not getting paid. And so who are you? What is your name? And then suddenly I'll just say from my own experience, once I started joining the union, even within my own division, I was meeting with other people. I felt really included. This is my other family. Keith and I have helped each other move. I don't know how many times, but there is a lot of solidarity that is there. So if you're also looking for something that is social, not just politically active, it's something that we're looking to change. Our office is just across the street, and we would love to have people show up and not just come when they have a complaint, but to socialize as well, because we really do need to have that inclusion. So if you're not sure if you are a member, you can please email us and we'll go ahead and make sure. And the reason why I say that is because I've talked to people and I'll go down my list and I'll say, you're not a member. And they say, well, I get Keith's emails all the time. I get those news bites. I must be a member. And it's like, no, we're communicating with you of all the opportunities, all the workshops that we have available. You are not a member. That's why I'm asking you to become a member. You can also look at your pay stub and it'll be under deductions and you will see that monthly deduction. So
Yeah, you're a member.
yes. Okay, so go ahead.
I thought I joined when
You were also a member. Yeah, I see the roles.
because I
So-
don't see anything that getting deducted from my pay.
I'm pretty sure you are.
We can always look it up.
So one thing too is that, so if you don't know if you're a member, if you're not sure, just rejoin. So you're not going to get double dinged. It'll just have the effect of updating your membership. So oftentimes if we move, we would appreciate you doing that anyway, so that we have more current information. But yeah, if you're not sure, go to scftunion.org/join and just fill out the membership form.
And I will say the benefits, besides having access to all of our workshops that we have, if you can't attend in person, we have them archived that you can listen to said workshops. We also have a free $5,000 life insurance policy. I highly recommend that everybody fills that out. Yes,
Yep.
so
For benefits.
it's on our member benefits page, which I can show you. If you have not, let's say you've been a member for a while and you've not filled that out, change it, fill it out. My dad passed away in February, but he was my beneficiary. So after he passed, I went in and changed his name to, I won't say who. But you might want to go and change that, because we have had people who maybe it's their ex-spouse was on there. So we want to update it with the current spouse. There are, once you also become a member, you get benefits from CFT and AFT, which is our national union. And I can show you that on the website, but it's everything from like discounts on computers and mortgage loans, car rentals. There's a lot there.
So yeah, car rentals. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to run through this part really quickly because we want to have enough time for questions.
Right.
So this is just some of the things. These are member benefits and events that we've done last year. And we have another one to show you what we did, what we're doing this year as well. Last year, we did a history of unfairness event that drew attention, nationwide attention to the fact that our part-timers do not have any kind of health care, and also to all the pay inequity. We've done multiple unemployment workshops. By the way, if you are part-time, you are eligible to file for unemployment during the winter break and during the summer break.
If you
even if you've gotten classes guaranteed for the next semester.
Please take advantage of that.
I think you're good at doing that though.
Public service loan forgiveness. This is a big deal. We do these recurringly. This is what the R means. It's just a recurring thing. We did a Regenerate Wellness Fair last spring. We're probably going to do something like that again this spring.
Promote our healthcare agenda.
Navigating the full-time application process. We talked about that a little bit. This will probably be in April. Salary advancement, also probably in March. We talked about that one. Last year, we secured $200 million for part-time healthcare. We'll talk more about that on the question side. And then we also participated in fun events like Porch Fest and the Pride Parade.
We are a very active union.
Yes.
I've heard some unions say like, I don't even know what's going on. We're too active almost. We've got things going on all the time. So if you're interested in any of those events, please look at your emails, because that's how we'll communicate with you.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, so one of the things that Bern drew attention to was the sense of inclusion and belonging. I had a colleague out in Clovis. She also teaches English, and we only know each other through the job, right? And we don't ever associate any other way, except she calls me and we talk. And she told me last semester, after I'd helped her with something, she says, you know, you're the only person that makes me feel like a colleague. You're the only person, and I've been teaching here for years. I've been part-timing for years. The union is the only way that I feel connected as a colleague. And I was like, I mean, thank you, but holy cow, right? That's what we can offer beyond all the member benefits, right? Beyond all the actual physical material benefits. We're a place that you can connect and that you can remember that you are a part of a community of devoted scholars. Right? And we want to make that very clear. So this year, I have all the recurring events from last year. We also, in the fall, we had a visit from SCFT President. That was a great event. We've been doing contract negotiations actually all year, not all semester. Contract actions. Yeah, we did. I think I put that in. We did a retirement event. That was great. We had a parity pay event. We meet regularly at Gazebo Gardens just for fun. We did that in the fall. We'll probably do it again in the spring once it gets a little less rainy. Nobody wants to be soggy outside, right? And then we're also going to be doing a lot of general membership meetings in town halls about negotiations and about other things. Going to continue pushing the healthcare aspect, right? Because there's a lot of need for that still. We'll talk about that at the very end. And we're going to do Porch Fest again because that was a lot of fun. I had like 80 people just hanging out on the Union House lawn, listening to two of our members who have bands. And it was a great event. All right. I think there we go. Okay. So there's a couple of links if you're interested once the presentation is posted, but let's pause for questions.
I'm gonna go in our chat.
Is there
Yes, Keith. Keith.
One sec, let's take one from the, from in person, then we'll do a Zoom, sorry.
Okay.
I do like 12-hour days,
Uh-huh,
and I spend a lot of time outside of those 12 hours for that class. I don't
Right.
get compensated for any of that.
right,
And I told my, the director when I first started working here, I've never had a 12-hour job that I worked 60 hours at before. And there's just like nothing, except
Mhm.
for, I guess, a couple of years ago, they go, now you can do an office hour a week, which you get paid half of what you make.
right.
And is there anything like that?
So for those of you on Zoom, we could, who might not have been able to hear that, the question was, I don't get paid for prep. Is the union working on that? So we proposed a comprehensive salary article in negotiations, and the district just flat out said they're not interested, and they came back with this 42% increase. What we want to do in this next contract, it doesn't seem feasible because what we learned through that negotiations process this time is that they would have to completely overhaul their entire system. And that's why they're reluctant. But what we want to do in the next 3-year cycle is really drive home what's called contract pay. So if you work at the CSU or the UC, you get paid a flat amount for an entire course. And that includes prep.
Yeah.
It includes prep and grading. So you get, I think now at the CSU, it's something like, it's 67, but per unit, it's like $600 a unit per semester or something like that. Maybe 700 now.
Some of
Yeah.
the online positions I've been applying,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't sure how I felt about it, so I guess now I know why they're doing that, but I was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have been fighting for this, and this is very good for where we are right now.
Work for Fresno County, they can be prep time.
Right, well,
But I don't get paid.
different-
In addition to the hourly, right? Is that right?
what?
No, it would be a flat rate inclusive of the hourly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I.
So we have a question about health insurance. So yes, we did secure statewide $200 million. Our district is, they did not, we're still confused because what the state had offered is if you offer exactly what you offer your full timers, you will get reimbursed down to the penny. And the district said, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So that fight is still there.
We're still fighting that one.
They were going to say $500 per person, or is that still?
No, it isn't going to cost them anything, but so they are listening to a fiscally conservative body called the League, the California Community College League, which is basically a bunch of administrators and lobbyists on their own side. And what they told them when our HR people and all the other HR people from the state said, we're not sure about this. And they go, well, yeah, no, you shouldn't be, because it's actually going to cost $2 billion or some ungodly amount. We've done the numbers. We have our own lobbyists and our own analysts. We think that it's actually going to come in well below the 200 million every year. And internally at our own district. So we are 6%, to give you an idea of the power that we have here at State Center. We are 6% statewide of all of the part-timers, 6%. But what we figured out through our analysis is that we're only going to use, so you would think we would use 6% of the funds, right? We're only going to use 3, half of it. And that's because a lot of folks have insurance through other means, through a partner, through another job, whatever, and they don't want it. And this insurance is completely optional. You can reject out of it. You can opt out of it. So we're still fighting on that. And what might happen, the worst case scenario. So the district said, we're not interested in it at this time. And we said, well, when you say at this time, what that means is you're not interested for the next 3 years, because that's the duration of the contract. And we said, that's not acceptable. So what we might end up doing, this is the only capitulation that we're willing to do, is say, let's take a year and let other districts who have already done it, other districts that are a little bit more fiscally liberal, like San Diego, let's figure out what their utilization is. And then we meet back up at the table in a year and then see if it works for us. We're not willing to let this go for another 3 years, especially when the money is there.
It's there.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in this, I urge you to show up with us at board meetings. You don't have to speak. You can at least just hold a sign. That way, the more bodies come, that way, even if we sign this and we're still doing this for a year later, that people say they're not going to let this go because we should have healthcare. When the district talks about equity left and right, that is not equitable.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we have part-timers who have died.
yeah, literally.
And you're still, I know you are sending still emails about the board meetings are, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be doing more board updates and more board actions all through the semester.
Let's do a question from the chat again, if anybody wants to speak up on mic.
I'd like to speak up.
Sarabjit?
Yeah, for Keith and Bernadette,
Uh-huh.
an additional reason for joining the union is that we're facing one district covering 3 towns, Fresno, Madera, Clovis, one schedule for 3 places. So the district is in a monopoly position.
Hmm,
We don't have much choice. If we go maybe to Merced,
right.
the
Yeah,
district,
true.
because this district is becoming more of an empire. Yeah, with
Yeah,
yeah.
more building, which is good. West Fresno should have it, but I just
No, but-
realized that we need to increase our bargaining power.
Yeah, so if you couldn't hear, what Sargent was saying is that the district has almost a monopoly on higher education in this area, and it's a very wide area, right? All the way to Reedley, all the way up to Madera and Oakhurst, right? Yeah, and the West Fresno expansion. So what he was saying is one of the key reasons to join the union is to push back against that ever-growing power. And just to again to drive kind of that point home, you are all aware of the pay disparity between full-time and part-time. Bernadette mentioned it. Part-timers, full-timers, there's 72 districts in the state. Full-timers get rank about between 25th and 30th on the pay scale. So
Our full-timers.
yeah, our full-timers 25th and 30th out of the state, the entire state, all the districts. Okay. Part-timers, Bern said the number 67th out of 72 districts. Okay. Now, full-time membership in the union, 90%. Part-time membership in the union, 55%.
It's better than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's
is.
a constant fight because we have a lot of turnover.
Can you make it mandatory?
No,
that's
actually,
the consult-
the Supreme Court took away mandatory membership. Yeah.
Oh, 'cause
So you have to opt into it.
I work with
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. So for public employees.
Okay.
But this is why it's so important to get involved. And Bern's been doing a great job getting more members in, but people get burned out, people leave.
So many of them.
It's a
Yeah.
moving target. So each semester, I might have somebody that's like, oh, great, I finally signed them up. And I don't know how many phone calls of people that I interacted with that said, I'm sick of this. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm leaving. And that was really difficult to hear because we have a lot of great instructors who are passionate. They're sick of being treated this way.
Mhm.
And so I can only instill so much hope, and we're waiting to get things ratified and so forth. But if, everybody in here is a member, please talk to other people and find out if they are or not, and tell them the benefits of also joining. Bringing them.
That I knew at Fresno State and the Writing Center and.
Yeah.
Doing the town.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we lose people.
I said, I think you were better in service than me and this summer.
So we only have a couple minutes left, so maybe a couple more questions. Yeah, Beth?
About something that I'm done yet. That's the
Oh,
Intellectual property. Okay.
created. Who's managing for one and two places in their own entirely. Located in campus. That I would like to know, other than doing screenshots and talking in case there's some way to secure that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a great question, because I've done the same thing. That's great.
Yeah. So the question was, how do you secure your intellectual property if you've spent a lot of time building out a unique course? There's a much longer, much more involved answer, but we're actually fighting with the district on this. And so you'll be seeing something fairly comprehensive coming out in the next month or so that lays out our argument on this and our fight and asking everybody to rally with us.
Really, because I've had people tell me, because I've done the same thing you have, but I've been doing longer for a couple of classes. I basically had people tell me that they all belong to the district.
Yeah, and that is the district's position, and it is not our position. It's not the contract's position either. So we're gonna be taking that fight public very soon.
Not even legally.
Right.
And this is where we
True.
would ask for your
Oh.
help to show up to said meetings.
The other thing,
Ordinance.
sorry to cut you off, but just really quickly, we are going to be having another member benefit seminar sometime in the spring about how to protect all of your digital information, not just your class, but to protect yourself in the digital world. So because there's been a lot of cyber theft and things like that.
Is that going to be online?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, it'll be online. And
This semester, there was new on the, instead of dual enrollment last
Mhm.
year.
mhm.
So is that double units? or just-
We wish it was. So the question is, does dual enrollment count differently on the unit level? And no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So the district and we fought this at the state level and at the local level. And to be quite honest, everybody lost that fight up and down the state. The districts have the right to assign you to teach a dual enrollment class. We're going to keep on pushing on that because we don't like it. But for the moment, no, there's no pay differential, and you do have to do it.
There's another thing too. I in the past, I had a quality class that was 2 units. It had a lecture and a lab component, but now it's turned into a lab.
Okay.
And it's 1 unit.
Hmm.
So I'm actually getting paid less. Right?
Yeah, so the lab rates do pay less unless we secure through negotiations the ability to make those equivalent, which is what we're fighting for. So it may happen that changes. And we're going to continue to push for that.
That happened last semester too. So
Mhm.
my 2 unit class is just 1 unit.
Yeah. No, it's a shame, but we're going to fight for that.
I just want to say too, for those of you who are unsure of the actual benefits, you can see the very first link that says visiting scftunion.org. When you click on that, click on one of the tabs that says benefits. That whole entire page will have various links for you to click on. That will be the AFT and CFTs. But if you scroll all the way down to the end of the page, you will see an orange button. That orange button says A and D. So it's for accidental death and dismemberment. If something like that happens here on campus, that is your free $5,000 life insurance.
So you have to die here.
It has to happen here on campus. But you know what? I don't know how many times I've slipped down these OAB stairs. I mean, I'm serious because I'm walking fast. I think it's,
the AD&D insurance, it's wherever you die.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
excuse me.
just-
Wherever
Just
you
has to
go.
be an accident.
Okay,
So, yeah.
so please fill that out. Regardless if you've already been a member, go and do it if you've not already done it.
Yeah. So I mean, we've lost a few members to things like cancer. That doesn't qualify as an accident, right? But for those of you who also work at Globus, you might remember we lost an anthropology instructor to a car accident, bike and car crash.
Yeah, also
That
the
qualified.
writing center people.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so we are out of time. If you can see it in the chat there, hopefully. I don't know why the chat is different on, scroll down. There we go. So for any other questions, because we're out of time, just there's the union office number 369-4120, and then my personal cell. And I don't know how the folks on Zoom are going to do an evaluation for us, but maybe Susie, if you're still there, can you post that?
And once again, if you go to the union's website, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the website, it has our address, our phone number, our fax. We are located right across the street. So please stop in and if you have any questions, you can still come up and talk to us. Thank you so much for attending.
Okay.